Hello, everybody, and welcome back to, oh my gosh, 50 Shades of Tay. You guys, this is episode 2 of my favorite horror movie. Last week we had Cody Leach talk about The Thing, and this week I have a very, very special guest. I absolutely love this guy. He always puts a smile on my face. To you,
I
you
tried
guys
putting it
all,
somewhere else and you slapped me. So,
you guys all know him from his work on Star Trek, and hey, you're in the biggest animated movie of all time.
I know. I'm
That's
shocked.
nuts.
It's
Congratulations
great.
on that.
Thank you. I'm waiting for those residual checks.
And you guys also know him from Werewolf by Night, which I can't get enough of. Kirk Thatcher is here today. Kirk, Uncle Kirk, how are you?
Hey, Tay. What's up, nephew?
That was the worst intro I've ever done.
Wait, from your side or mine?
From my side, I feel like I was laughing the whole time.
Oh, sorry. Let's be serious. This
No,
is
no,
all.
no. No seriousness. I
This
just want
is
people to know
Halloween.
how much I respect you and how excited
Oh,
I
you're
am to
very
have
kind.
you here.
Well, I'm excited to be here, especially when you told me what we were talking about.
Oh yeah. Kirk, by the way, what is your favorite horror movie?
It has to be hands down The Bride of Frankenstein.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I could gab for 2 hours about everything I love about it. So yeah, I'm here to blab about why I love that movie if you're
Oh my
if
gosh.
you're willing.
I absolutely love that movie as well. I haven't seen it in a couple years. I think the last time I watched it was right before at Horror Nights a couple years ago. They had a
All
maze,
right,
and I like to rewatch all the movies for the mazes just to like get in the
right.
mood and get in the spirit. And that maze was so fun, and I love the character.
It's kind of the Frankenstein movie you remember as opposed to the original Frankenstein. The original Frankenstein's great, but it's very slow. And the scenes that you remember from that actually, from at least I should say you remember that one remembers. What I remembered as Frankenstein was most of them were from
Mm.
Bride of Frankenstein, obviously before the bride shows up. But what I thought of as Frankenstein, him chained to that chair, him walking through the graveyard. Uh, there's just so much, and there's just so much great stuff. But what's amazing, I think one of the reasons I love it so much, when I saw it as a kid, I thought it was funny because the opening, whether like it opens, not spoiler alert, but it opens with Mary Shelley and Lord Byron, and I forget who the third one guy is. And it's a dark and stormy night. You move into the castle, right? And you think, oh, it's going to be Frank. And no, it's dreadfully awful outside, beastly, I must say. And they're like talking about Mary Shelley's book, which she'd written, Frankenstein, and how like the publisher wouldn't publish it. It's just too dreadful and scary. And she's like, "Oh no, and also Lancaster." See, I forgot this because when I was a kid, I just thought it was goofy and sort of put it out of my mind because then the movie starts. Once she introduces, she goes, "Oh no, the story didn't end with that book. There's more." They're like, "Really? Do tell." And she starts to tell the story, and it picks up right where the original Frankenstein ended with the mill burning down and Frankenstein trapped inside and all the villagers there with torches. And there's some amazing performances that are funny. The first one that comes to mind is Minnie, who is the
Mhm.
maid at the Frankenstein castle, played by Una, I think O'Connell, very Irish name. And she looks like Estelle Winter. She's got very strong cheekbones and that kind of pinched little face. And she's like, "Ah!" And she's just screaming and I mean, hamming it up doesn't do it justice. She's so over the top and it's just hilarious and she and she's very brassy like I'll kill the beast with my own hands and she's got that little Irish accent and so that's how you start the villagers are surrounding the burnt what's remained of the burnt windmill and she's there yelling and saying, you know, he's not dead yet, we gotta stay. And there's villagers like, come on, and the burgermeister, who's this kind of officious guy with this ridiculous mustache. It's very campy unintentionally. You could see why Mel Brooks like used a lot of this, you know, with like Ken Mars being the burgermeister uh as influence for young Frankenstein. And then it goes into the monster who's actually fallen into I guess the water that ran the windmill so he wasn't burned and he kills a villager who goes down to make sure he's dead. Oh, as the father of the little girl that he drowned accidentally in Frankenstein. So it ties right in. And I looked it up. It was 4 years after the original Frankenstein came out in 31, the same year as Dracula. And then 4 years later, this came out. So they realized it was kind of amazing. The early, from 31 to about 38, it was Dracula, Frankenstein, King Kong, all in the first 5 years. And I don't know if the Mummy was done. I didn't look that up, but so the Universal was in this enraptured with these monster movies that were doing great. So they brought Frankenstein back. So he's not dead, and he goes on a rampage. There's a lot of rampaging in this movie with villagers and torches. But the next character that is introduced is Ernest Thesiger as Doctor. I didn't ever knew his name was. He was just always Doctor Pretorius, but his full name is Septimus Pretorius. Um, and he's so, again, over the top. Yes, and he's got this amazing face. He and Una O'Connell could have a ham off, and I don't know who would win. But he's, the mad scientist who's created little people. He couldn't create a human, but he created, and then, as a kid, that blew me away. I'm like, oh my God, those little people and they're alive, and he knew how to do it, and he blackmails essentially Frankenstein, which is funny. In the book, he's Victor, but in the movies, he's Henry. And I kept thinking, wait, is Henry the son? It's like, no, so I looked that up too, because just because I knew we were talking about it today, I'm like, okay, why is he Henry Frankenstein? Because Victor, they thought would be too harsh of a name for Americans.
Gosh.
Yeah, Vic, it has that Victor, or as Henry soft. Anyway, so he blackmails him into essentially making new life, and it's a bride for the monster, Karloff. And again, I think Karloff had a lot more to do in this as the monster, and you feel for him. So when I first saw it, I loved the little creatures. I loved Frankenstein. I loved just the sets. The cinematography is amazing. The lighting. There's scenes where, like when Pretorius is first introduced, the door, it's a closed door and it opens, and the shadow just falls slowly across his face as he comes in. Just great stuff like that just creates such a great mood. And these amazing sets. I mean, these were these huge Hollywood sound stages where there's a scene where there's a milkmaid, and he's trying to rescue, she sees him, screams, falls into a stream, I guess. There's a waterfall, and there's sheep everywhere. She's a shepherdess. And he goes to save her, but she's so terrified, she's screaming. So guys come and, try and shoot him, thinking he's, molesting her. And she runs up, but there's an entire flock of sheep. There's a waterfall. They don't do this anymore. They just go and,
Yeah.
I mean, they built it as a spaceship, but anyway, so the sets are amazing. And then when I saw it again, I was in my early teens, like 14, maybe, 14, 15. And it hit different. I was like, oh my God, I'm Frankenstein. I'm Frankenstein's monster, because I wanted a girlfriend, and I would be like, friend. And they're like, ah! Actually, I got friend zoned. I was chubby. I had pimples. I had greasy hair. I had no game. I had no charm. I didn't have sisters, so I didn't know how to talk to girls. So I totally identified with the monster in this. And Karloff is great. He plays this innocence. He's not really a monster, which is why you identify. Like so much like King Kong. He's just this beast who wants love, and the same thing with Frankenstein. In fact, I wonder. Dracula was the first one to see a guy carry a woman, because then Kong did it, and then Frankenstein did it, and they kept doing it with the Mummy, Creature of the Lagoon. You had to have the monster carry a woman who's fainted. But he's so identifiable. You feel for him. I guess empathetic is the word. And it just hit me. I'm like, oh my God, I know what that feels like to be like, friend. And they're like, either they scream or they don't scream. Like, I wasn't that unattractive, but they just didn't want, basically in the end, Elsa Lanchester as the bride, just like, and I love the way she walks with her arm forward and kept going towards Henry Frankenstein. So all those things, there's just so much to love about it. Scene after scene, the amazing imagery of him in that chair where they've got his neck like in a wooden brace, and he's chained up, and he's like, argh! And then again running amok. He runs amok a lot, and villagers chase him a lot. But there's another thing that I, again, rewatching, I'm like, oh my God, I forgot. Oh, when he carries the Henry's fiance, or the bride actually, because they just got married, to the cave to kind of hide her, to kind of use his blackmail. There's a bat, just a big rubbery vampire, probably taken from Dracula, but it just kind of flaps in the sea, flies through. You're like, yes, it has everything. Dead trees, burning windmills, gorgeous graveyards with
Mm.
the big, Victorian or maybe soon earlier statuary. And he hides in a crypt. And then there's this scene with Thesiger and Colin Fry as I always thought he was Igor, but he was Carl, who gets bodies for him. And it turns out he's actually murdering people to get the freshest body parts. So you've got the crazed sort of Igor type. But there's a scene where Thesiger, and I got forgotten this, but again, when it comes on, I'm like, oh yes, I love this. And he's eating, he's had his goons dig up a skeleton. And he even says, well, as they're digging up, I hope she has strong bones.
Oh
And
yeah.
the next scene, he's eating his dinner laid out on the top of the coffin with the bones set up in front of him, and he's just drinking wine and laughing. And the monster comes in, and this is where their I wouldn't say friendship, but their partnership comes up, and the Frankenstein's monster's like, I want friend. Yes, I'm going to make a woman. And this shot of Karloff going, hey, woman. And it's so insane. And Thesiger, they all pull it off. I mean, it's super hammy. I mean, it's Martin Short level of ham.
Oh
But Karloff anchors it. I will
man.
say, his performance is so sympathetic and empathetic. Where the whole scene with the blind
Oh yeah.
fiddler, which Mel Brooks used in Young Frankenstein.
Mhm.
But I mean, Gene Hackman almost mimics exactly that scene where he learns to smoke, and you kind of get the idea he's learning how to speak. His speech center is getting rewired.
Mm.
Um, and then I'd forgotten this. John Carradine has a cameo. He's one of the hunters that comes in. So the blind fiddler is there, and he's having like dinner with the monster. And they come in and go, excuse me, we've lost our way. Do you know how to the way out of this forest? And I'm like, oh, it's the monster, and his partner has a gun, and it's John Carradine with who went on to play Dracula and
Yeah.
play everything. But he's a young guy, very tall and thin. Kind of actually looks like a shaved Jim Henson. He's very lanky, and he's got that John Carradine voice. And I'd forgotten that he cameoed in it. It doesn't. He's not even in the credits.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, he's not credited. There's a lot of characters in this who get credit, even like the butler at the Frankenstein mansion or Frankenstein castle. Um, but yeah, and then the ending, amazing ending. It has all the Ken Strickfaden, electrical science stuff that was made famous in the first one, with the Jacob's ladders going off, and then what's great is it's Elsa Lancaster, which I'd forgotten played Mary Shelley at the beginning of the movie. So it's a weird, just kind of twist. And I kept thinking, it's weird. They just, again, spoiler alert, if you know the ending, hopefully your viewers have seen it or your listeners have seen it. But Frankenstein blows the place up because he's spurned by the bride, and then it just ends. Well, it ends with the two with Henry Frankenstein and his bride just getting darling, darling, and they're alive, and roll credits. And another thing I'd forgotten, they rolled the credits twice. They literally say, well, the cast is great, we need to show it twice. So you see it at the beginning of the movie and you see it at the
Oh
end.
yeah, that is true.
Probably one of the first times they'd done that.
Mhm.
But again, John Carradine didn't get credit. So there's just, I don't know, it's just a great, perfect little movie with enough silliness and enough pathos and enough action, with these amazing sets. And again, at the time, there's all these scenes with lit torches. And I'm just watching a TV series that's on right now called Decameron, where there's scenes with lit torches. It's a medieval thing. And they're pretty obviously CG'd. They're holding a wooden thing with maybe a tracking mark on it, and they've tracked the flame on it. No, they're throwing real lit torches around willy-nilly in sets, I'm like, damn, that's the fire marshal was not available that day.
Oh my
I
gosh.
assume they had extinguishers or something, but just, I don't know. It just, again, having, written and directed movies and watching what you could get away with there too. The close-ups, just the cut to a extreme close-up, and these great dolly shots of these amazing sets. The interior of the Frankenstein castle are just huge. I mean, they're
Yeah.
supermarket size with these dolly shots with the pillars going by and candelabras, and then they didn't really dolly in that much. It was a lot of
Mhm.
left and right, and then you would just cut into the action. But just the filmmaking is great, and I don't know. There's so much to love, and I think because of that potpourri of that cornucopia of fun with the little the little creatures that Thesiger made or Pretorius made, and just the funniness of some of the character actors, and then I don't know, it just, to me, it pushes all the buttons that a great movie has.
No, I
And
totally agree.
uh,
Hearing you talk about it, it's like, yeah, the set design and just the creature designs, and you really relate, like you were saying, to Karloff's portrayal of Frankenstein's monster. And I love the movie. I'm going to say something controversial though. As
mm,
much as I love this movie, I think that this is a movie that would be great to be made again, a remake, just to modernize it, because we haven't seen, as far as I could think of off the top of my head, anything Bride of Frankenstein in a long time. I can't
uh,
really think of something mainstream
they
that has come out.
they keep, well, there was the Kenneth Branagh one. I don't, with
Oh,
what's his name, Robert De Niro as the monster. I don't think they had a bride in it, but I would want to, what came closest to the look and the feel, although it kind of went off the rails, was Van Helsing. The
mm,
guy who did The Mummy, the same director, he did Van Helsing, and it started great. It got really silly at the end, but I loved it because it opens in black and white, and it looks like Bride of Frankenstein,
yeah,
with great over the top character actors. I'm like, if you're gonna do it, I wouldn't do it in black and white, but I think you really, for me to love it, you would have to uh, kind of pay tribute to the way it looked and the setting, not modernize it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
one thing, which is an interesting little side note,
Mhm.
at ILM they were going to do a computer animated back in the '90s after Jurassic Park. In the mid '90s, they were developing with Universal a 3D CG animated Frankenstein Werewolf Dracula movie.
Wow.
And I saw Dave Carson, who was one of the guys on Jedi that I worked with, was going to be, I don't know if he was directing or production designer, but I saw some computer imageries and a test, which I don't know, maybe you can see it on YouTube now, but it was super secretive. And I don't know what killed it because I wasn't
Mhm,
involved, but I saw the test because I knew those guys. And I'm like, oh my God. And they did it black and white. It looked like, well, like Werewolf by Night. If you saw Werewolf
mhm.
by Night, the black and white version, the same thing. Like they wanted that kind of that look.
Wow.
And I don't know. Part of you is like, yeah, if you're gonna update it, what are you gonna change? Like the Frankenstein monster, like if you just make him uglier, he kind of loses some of that childlike quality. I don't know. That's what they usually do, is like really make it look like a reanimated.
Yeah. I
Um,
guess I guess I don't want it modernized as in the sense of like, with CGI and with like the volume and stuff. I just mean I just want to see these characters again
I
today.
agree.
That's mainly what I want.
Well, it's funny because I watch it, and I always go to comedy, but I want to do a series of shorts with with Dracula and Frankenstein as two single guys like trying to meet girls at a bar because Frankenstein can't get a mate, and Dracula, of course, can charm literally the pants off of women or
Yeah.
the dresses right out of them, and so he's his wingman, and he's like, "Come on, buddy, we could do this." It's like, you know,
Oh, that'd be
Frank
fun.
Good. And like, no, my friend, he's really charming. He's not super eloquent, but it's like, oh, I just think it would be, it's very Mel Brooks, I guess. But
Oh, I would love that.
yeah, I don't. It's funny you said that because I was like, you could redo it, but the trick is not getting too clever. Like,
Right. Wasn't Angelina Jolie attached to do uh Bride of Frankenstein for that? What was it, the Dark Universe that Universal tried doing with the Mummy? And she was going
yeah,
to play the Bride of Frankenstein, right?
was she? I don't know. I don't remember that.
That's something that I remember reading about, but I don't know if it was official. Because remember, they released that one photo, the infamous photo, and it was all the actors they had. It was like Johnny Depp was in
Right,
it and all
right.
these actors. And then they stopped after the Mummy, which I understand what happened with the Mummy, but I don't think they should have stopped. I think they should have done at
I,
least
I
one more.
Well, what's funny is, they're doing it with their theme parks. They're going to have
Yeah,
at the Universal. I think at both of them. I definitely know in
Florida.
Florida, yeah, because I have friends that were working on it, and they're really going all out. And people I know work on it say, no, it's going to be really cool, and they're definitely not trying to mod. I mean, I think that was a problem with the Mummy, making her a skinny girl covered in tattoos. You're like, well, it's not particularly scary.
Yeah,
I thought the
I
Brendan Fraser Mummy was great. Like it updated it, but it didn't. It wasn't too clever. It had fun with it. I think these things have to have that sense of fun. Again, going back to particularly Bride of Frankenstein,
mhm,
there's a lot of humor in it with the crazy maid and the mad scientist
yeah.
Pretorius. And I think you would want I think you need that. You know, even you got Chris Lloyd to play Pretorius would be a great casting. You know, it's
Oh,
like, yes, I can bring him back to life. You know,
yeah. I would love that.
yeah, you know, and get who would you get to play the monster? I mean, Doug Jones is great.
Oh, yeah, I love Doug Jones.
And give him the flat top and the, you know, give him the classic Frankenstein thing.
Mhm.
'Cause Doug has the big sorrowful eyes. He could play the pathos.
That'd be
Um,
fun.
but then you're sort of like, well, if you're just remaking it, just to make it, I don't know, new, like
Yeah.
what would you bring to it? I would make, I mean, this is me. I would have Pretorius not only have made little creatures, but did you see, and this is actually a great model, Poor Things
Oh, I
with
love Poor
with
Things.
Willem Dafoe and the weird shit he
Oh,
made,
yeah,
the
yeah.
dog ducks and the do that. Like have the Pretorius character blown out a little more with the weird stuff he's made, but he can't make a living human.
Ooh,
And
okay.
then I'm like, okay, if you kind of mash it up with Poor Things,
Yeah.
like that guy would be. I mean, I want to direct it, but what's his name?
Yorgos Lanthimos.
Lanthimos. Yeah, I know. It's like it sounds like a character from Frankenstein. Yorgos, bring the monster. Um, he'd be great because he has the right quirky tone. Again, Poor Things essentially is Bride of Frankenstein, except he's not making the bride for anybody. He just made the bride.
Mhm. Ah, that movie's incredible though. I
I
love
know, and
that
I'm so
movie.
they're not releasing it in 4K. I just got the 1080p one, the Blu-ray.
Mm,
Like it's so beautiful. I really wish that
yeah.
movie polarized people. Most people I know loved it. We all were like, "That's the movie of the year."
Yeah.
But I know other people. To me, it was a whole treatise on feminism and the way women were treated, and
Mhm.
obviously, it's pretty not my clever take on it, but and I don't know if that pissed people off, but I mean, it was dark. I mean, putting the head of a baby in a dead is really twisted, but that's the Frankenstein story. I mean, in Bride, Igor, named Carl, goes and just kills a young woman to get her fresh heart because the one they had didn't work. You're like, and they just kind of gloss over it. You see her walking, and he's like, 1,000 crowns. And he just jumps out at her and they cut. And then he's like, is the heart good? He's like, yes, it's perfect. And he almost spills the beans. And then Henry Frankenstein, who was a good soul, he's like, where did you get it? Oh, the constable told me a woman had just been murdered. And it's like,
Oh my
so
gosh.
it's yeah, I don't know. That would be fun. Let's call Universal. Get him on the phone.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm 6'2". I could be the stunt double for the monster.
Ah,
Kirk, before we started recording, you were showing me something very
oh yeah,
cool.
this is how much I love this movie. So a buddy of mine, Miles Tevis, who's an amazing creature maker,
Oh, that's
did
so
this
cool.
sculpt. Hold on. I gotta there. I put my glasses on him. Uh, it's the bride. It's Frankenstein from the bride. You can see the hair is burnt. I don't know. There we go. There. Ah, there. You can see that his hair is all burnt and shortened, and he's got the hairstyle from Bride, and he's got those dead eyes. I don't know. I love this. And then my friend Alice painted it.
That's awesome.
It's a creature. So these are creature maker friends of mine. It's not custom. You could buy the model kit, and so I did. And then my friend Alice painted it as a favor and did a great job. So
I have something as well.
oh,
19
I just
Crimes.
saw that. I
It
just
glows
saw
in the
that.
dark. It glows in the dark.
And did you scan it with your phone?
No, does it do something?
Dude, scan it with your phone.
Ooh, does it come to
It-
life?
yes, it's a whole QR thing. It's
Oh, I
amazing.
see it on the back. I didn't know that. Oh, they did that recently with Coke. Marvel did it with Coke where you scan the QR code on the Coke bottle with the Marvel characters and then they
Yeah.
like come to life on your phone. Okay, I'll have to scan it.
So, and if you get Frankenstein and the Bride, they both
Oh
come
yeah.
alive, and it's great. Yeah, I love.
Oh,
Thank you
cool.
for reminding me because I saw it at like World Market, and I'm
World
like,
Market. Yeah, that's
yeah,
where I got it.
yeah,
I love World Market. Yeah, I
yeah.
have let's see, I have the Bride of Frankenstein and then I have Frankenstein in the kitchen and I have Dracula. Like I know they're all over the place. It's addicting. And then I end up getting them for all my friends for Halloween. So,
Now, is this your favorite time of year, Halloween?
oh my God, it is definitely my favorite time of year. I just went to Horror Nights the other night and I have my
Oh,
tickets to
it's
Not
already
Scary Farm.
already
It's just like,
started. I went to
yeah.
Horror Nights 2 years ago with a bunch of friends, and I will say we were lucky because we know people. We got the front of line
Oh
passes.
yeah.
I wouldn't do it any other way. There were literally 3 hour lines for a 3 minute walkthrough.
Yeah.
And I would say two of them were worth the 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 I think they've gone too big and like we're gonna have more and more and more, and it's just it all seems kind of watered down. Whereas I wish there were just three like amazing rides. I've
Yeah,
never been to Knott's, to be honest. I've just the crowds and everything. I'm like, I don't know.
yeah. The Express Pass, I think is what it's called, that you're talking about. Last year was our first time ever getting it. And now we're never going back to just standing in
Yeah.
line because there were mazes that were like 2 to 3 hours. And I was like, but
Yes.
we're here and we're only going to be here one night. And like we would wait like two
Right.
hours for, yeah, like a 3 minute walkthrough. So last year and this year, we got the Express Pass. We're able to complete everything and be out of there by like 10 or 11 at night. It's
Yes. That
crazy.
that was we went out and had drinks
Yeah.
because it's the same thing. Like, oh my God, you see these poor people, and we've asked them how long you've been in line. Oh, 2.5 hours, and you want to go. It's not worth it.
Oh
It's
my
not worth
gosh.
it.
But yeah,
Um,
when they did have that Bride of Frankenstein maze a couple years ago, that one was like one of my favorites.
I
It was
missed.
right by the entrance, and just
Right.
her design with the hairdo, and it was like the storybook kind of came to life. And I think each room was like a different chapter as you walked through it. I wish I had pictures of it to show you, but I don't think I have any from that.
Speaking of the design, like her design as the bride is so bananas. Like it's
Yeah.
not related to anything. Like the lightning bolts in
Oh,
the
I
hair
love
was
it.
just some inspired. I think it was Jack. I know Jack Pierce did the makeup, but I don't know if the hairstylist did it. But the big like carrot top or uh, kid and
Like
play
beehive.
hairdo.
I don't even know. Yeah, it's
Was it
so
just like?
cool.
And it was like, was the idea was the electricity? I mean, I want to know, like, where did you come up with these ideas? Obviously, the scars and everything else, but just that makeup, which kind of made her beautiful and weird at the same time. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's funny. I was talking with friends who are creature makers, and we were saying how they kind of. I mean, again, they were the first guys to do all this stuff, but I mean, the Frankenstein design, as goofy as it is so iconic, and nobody's beaten it. I've never seen a Frankenstein that looked more unique or interesting, or you wanted to see more of. Like when they do it realistic, like Kenneth Branagh, or
Mhm.
uh, the series that I liked. I didn't think the designs were great. I'm not throwing shade. It just they were probably the budget and everything was Penny Dreadful.
Oh, right. Okay.
You had Rory. What was his name? It was Roy Kinnear. Rory Kinnear
Mm.
playing the monster. He was just kind of pale and had some scars, which is probably more accurate to the book. But the Jack Pierce thing of like gave him a flat head, and like I don't even. I think the reasoning was he thought, well, if he's cut the top of the cranium off to get the brain in there, he wouldn't put the skull back on. He would just put a board on it and
Oh my
just sew it
gosh.
up because that's what it is. You can see the scars around it,
Yeah.
so there's a logic to it, but it's so weird. And the neck bolts, I don't know. There's just those movies, the Mummy, but Frankenstein, I think probably has the best design because Dracula and the Mummy are kind of what they were. But it's hard to do really memorable, original creature design. As
No,
a
I
creature
agree.
designer in my first part of my career, we would sit around and talk about it. I think, the alien from Aliens, the gremlins from Gremlin that Chris Walas did,
Yeah.
uh, the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh,
No
I
one's
love the creature
ever,
from the Black
no
Lagoon.
one's ever topped that. That's just such a good. And they've tried. They've about every 10 years, somebody or Universal's like, we're going to remake it, and because I remember in the '80s, Chris Walas was part of the group. They were like, we need the new creature design. We're going to do it. And he was designing stuff. And then Rick Baker had done stuff. And all these Stan Winston studios, everyone has their creature design. And it's pretty much a version of the creature.
Mhm.
And it was designed by a woman, Millicent Patrick. I mean, anyway, as you can tell, I hate this genre. I can't
Oh my
talk.
gosh.
But what's nice about old horror is it's not gore. I mean, it's creepy. I mean, they were cutting out hearts of, freshly dead women,
Yeah.
but there's I don't know. I don't want to say innocence because it's not innocent,
That's what
but
I was gonna say. I was gonna say innocence, but I don't know.
it
It's more
it's not shock horror. It's
right.
horror, but it isn't shocking.
Yeah.
Ghost stories tend to be that way, but the early Universal stuff. I mean, even the I think the Coppola Dracula was a great different take
Mm.
on the story that was memorable, and like his design was weird, and you remember that like
Yeah.
that's the only Dracula aside from the Lugosi one you can kind of go, okay, that was unique. Everyone else kind of does. And if you do the book, he's got big whiskers, and he's more like Christopher Lee, I guess,
Mhm.
in those Dracula movies. I don't know, man. I love horror. I love
Me
black and
too. Me
white
too.
horror.
Kirk, with The Bride of Frankenstein being your favorite horror movie and the amount of times you've seen it and spent with it and thinking about it, is there anything you would change about it?
Oh, that's a good question because it's so beloved for its flaws and its strengths. Like what would I change? I think I said earlier, I would have Pretorius have more weird stuff because that to me, as a kid, as an adult, I'm like, oh my God, this guy's nuts. But what cool things he's made. Um, I mean, you get into I don't know.
I think if I could change something, this isn't really necessarily the film, but I
Okay.
would want more behind the scenes stuff. So I would want someone documenting
Oh,
what was
right.
going on. I know that's not really changing the film, but
Yeah.
I would just love to see, behind the scenes footage, behind the
I mean, the
scenes.
the the whole thing of the monsters going, I like dead, I hate the living.
Mhm.
I, that scene in the graveyard. I mean, there could have been a scene of him with a corpse, like having like something
Mhm.
really like dark, but also moving.
Yeah.
Um, he kind of does that a little bit, but you know, even the scene with Pretorius, where they're kind of drinking over the coffin, like, and he holds the skull, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's sort of like it so works, and I love it so much. I don't immediately. It's hard for me to think of what I would do. I
Yeah.
would just say more,
More.
more
Yeah.
stuff in the graveyard, more stuff with Pretorius.
Yeah.
Uh, Henry Frankenstein is kind of a mope. He's not the most interesting guy. Now, granted, he had the first movie,
Mhm.
so he's a broken man that, his life's been torn apart. But I don't know how you make him more interesting. I think he works. So I would just expand on Pretorius, which was such a great
Yeah.
role, and Thesiger was so well cast.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, that would be my take. More Doc Brown.
Well, we're getting closer and closer to Halloween,
Yeah.
and I was wondering what your go-to Halloween candy is.
Oh wow, that's because I'm trying not to eat very much sugar. I have been for the last like 15, 20 years, but I will say Reese's peanut butter cups were always a favorite.
Mhm.
And in terms of candy bars, it'd be Butterfinger or Hershey's dark chocolate with almonds.
Ooh, nice, nice. All
I didn't
right.
like the sweet, sugary, or they're all sugary. I didn't like the sweet fruit flavored stuff. I like chocolatey things.
Yeah. Ah, chocolate. Yeah, same.
What about you? Oh, you're the same, man.
I think peanut butter, like Reese's peanut butter is really good, or peanut M&Ms. I could eat peanut M&Ms like
Oh
all
yeah.
day, every day. Those are addicting.
And we never got these, but I love Goobers and Raisinets. And peanut M&Ms are kind of like, I mean, again, dark chocolate. I'm there.
Yeah.
I can't ever remember. I remember people give out gum, and I was like, gum.
Oh my gosh.
What was the weird? There's a question. What was the weirdest Halloween treat you got? Because sometimes it wasn't even candy.
I think growing up there was a house that gave out apples, like apple slices, and I was just like, oh,
Yeah. Thanks.
okay. Thanks for that.
There was a house one time they gave out those little religious tracts. The chick, there's a whole book about this guy's artwork. It's amazing, but those little religious booklets that were
Uh-huh.
like, I don't know, like the size of a matchbook, a little bigger, and they had a great drawings, but there are all these stories of, and it was about like how Halloween is worshiping Satan. And we're like, you're a kid. I'm like, that's cool artwork, man. Oh no, mom, are we worshiping Satan? That was the weird. I'm like, wow, what a weird. I mean, I guess in their mind they were saving souls, but it was like, damn, you're not really getting the spirit of this holiday.
Oh man. All right, what about Halloween costumes? Do you have a favorite Halloween costume that you've ever dressed up as?
Well, the easiest one that was a go-to, especially when my hair was a little darker, was the dude because, hey man,
Oh,
I mean, people call me the dude dressing like an Hawaiian shirt. So, yeah, a friend gave me the sweater. She worked at or works at what's the name of the uh, uh, they're known for um, it's the wool mills. They're known for their plaid shirts. I'm blanking on it. Anyway, she works in the place that made that sweater, and they remade it. They had a reissue of it because of the popularity. So she gave me that as a gift one year. And so what's funny was I was the dude before the dude ever existed. Had the long hair, the goatee. I wore plaid shorts, V-neck t-shirts is probably my number one thing to wear. I didn't have the clear sandals, but I wore sandals. And I had those kind of sweaters, not that actual one, but that kind of collared shawl like sweater.
mhm.
So I was the dude, And even in high school, friends would their impression of me was like, "Oh, hey man, yeah, no, everything's." I was either hyper or like super chill. So yeah, the dude was easy and fun because I required very little effort, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, you look just like him."
Oh my gosh.
Uh, when I was a kid, it was the werewolf. I loved gluing crepe hair to my face and putting on fangs and claws, and that was fun. And then, kind of in the '80s, when I was making creatures and stuff, I always wanted to do weird stuff. Like I did the Beast from Beauty and the Beast
Oh,
because I had a red
cool.
and fair costume. But a go-to, I always mix it up because if you make creatures for a living, you don't want to be the same thing. But after I got out of creature making, my heart didn't leave it, but my career did. I would just go as the dude. I was gonna go as uh, Laszlo Cravensworth from What We Do in the Shadows.
I
But
love What We Do in the Shadows.
yeah, I love it. And, again, I can do Matt Berry, just because I have a
Oh,
cape and all that. So I was gonna do Laszlo.
oh, that'd be so fun. I'll be
Yeah.
Guillermo.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. There we go.
There we go. We could be a cute little couple
Oh my God.
costume this year.
Exactly. We'll win costume contests.
Oh
I'll
my gosh.
dye my hair black and I just fumble around like Matt Berry and call you.
Oh, how fun.
I would love that cast. There's a great. I was talking about this with a friend today on a different or yesterday on a different podcast
Uh-huh.
about how little sci-fi shows there were on TV and very little horror. I remember when Dark Shadows was I mean, that's how old I am. Dark Shadows was the only television show.
Mm.
There was like the Munsters and the Addams Family, and then like in the '70s till probably I don't know in the last 15 years, there was very little to nothing in terms of horror. I mean, you had like Joe Bob or
All
Mystery
right.
Science Theater where they would watch horror movies or whatever and make fun of it, but actual good horror, uh, even anthology series, there was they kind of did it with the Friday the 13th series, and they kind of played around with it. I guess Goosebumps was the closest thing that was always for kids.
Yeah.
It is funny how some of our most popular genres are relegated to kids until somebody kind of cracks it. Like The Simpsons. I
Mhm.
remember as a kid they tried having, the Flintstones was an adult, primetime animated series, and then nothing for 30 years until like Wait Till Your Father Gets Home, which I think lasted one season. And everyone's like, no, adults don't like animation. They won't watch it. And then The Simpsons comes out, and it's the longest running show until I think they're on season
Yeah.
36.
Crazy, crazy. Have you done anything with The Simpsons yet?
I've never a guy I've known since college is the main director. He's the guy that turned Matt Groening's drawings
Oh,
into
wow.
animated. He started on Tracy Ullman, but no, I've never did a voice. I've never had anything to do with it. Uh, they
Not
did.
yet.
Yeah, not yet. Yeah, they did make fun of it on our show Dinosaurs, which I did work on.
Oh, dinosaurs.
They made fun of it, so we made fun of them. We had the Simstones. Meet the Simstones. Um,
Oh man.
yeah. Uh, Puppets. That's the one. The Muppet Show was the only puppet show that broached the family. Wasn't just a kid show, and I'm bummed that Disney has not learned any lessons, and they're kind of driving it into the ground.
Yeah, it's a bummer because it's like since I think your movie was the last thing that came out with the Muppets, Muppets Haunted Mansion. I don't know if I
They
mentioned
they
that
did
off
a
the
they
top.
did a TV series.
Muppets Now?
No, Muppets Mayhem. It was the band.
Oh, I forgot about that. I love that one. Muppets Mayhem
Yeah,
was so good.
I think that it was good. The problem was outside of Muppet people, nobody cared.
Yeah, I know. I would talk to
You
other people who
inside
weren't
baseball.
and they didn't really know about it.
Right, because they don't know the band. They don't even, they're like,
Yeah,
oh, the band. They're not like, oh, that's Dr. Teeth and Zoot likes this. And
right.
I
I
think,
loved it though. Oh,
yeah, well, Muppet Haunted Mansion, if I ran the world, the Muppets would do things like Treasure Island, which I wrote as what I think a Muppet movie should
favorite.
be. I think they should attack genres. I had an idea for a Muppet Western I was going to do with Jerry Jewell before he passed. I wrote a sci-fi movie. I wrote like a Ghostbusters movie with Jim Lewis. I've written 4 or 5 movies that I got paid to write that never saw the light. I should say 3 or 4 that never saw the light of day. But there were the Muppets doing a genre, not the Muppets today, but they're all trying to buy a house. Like I think nobody cares.
What
Like you've got to
about
go big with it.
The Bride of Frankenstein, but with Muppets?
We did that with Piggy. That's a poster, The Bride of Froggenschwein.
Oh yeah.
Kermit's, I sold. I wrote a movie that became a video game. It was the Muppets go to Munson's uncle dies and bequeaths him this in his will, this castle in Transylvania. So they go to it, and long story short, the Muppets keep getting changed into classic movie monsters. And Kermit became Froggenschwein's monster, and Piggy was his bride. We had the hair and everything. Fozzie was a werebear. Gonzo became Nosferatu, the vampire of sweat.
Oh, I love
I
it.
mean, like, he can't be biting people and drinking their blood, so he stick there his long, goofy nose in people's armpits.
Oh my gosh.
He never actually did it. That was what he wanted to do. Rizzo became, like, it wasn't Igor, but it was basically Igor,
Yeah.
or the Hunchback. Anyway, we had a Clifford was the creature from the African American Lagoon.
Oh my gosh.
Um,
Uh
yeah, we had. It was a fun script, but it was very silly. But to me, the Muppets Go Big or Go Home, like small stories with them, just kind of lay flat because
yeah.
they're not small. They're big. They're bigger. If you watch the Muppet movie, it's crazy. There's nice small moments, but the
Mm.
movie itself is bananas. And when they do like, oh, it's interpersonal stories, it's fake. It's fake drama about or fake stories about fake characters. It's like, well, let's have fake characters have incredible stories, or else why are we watching them?
Yeah.
I mean, again, that you could probably do it with puppets. I don't know. I think animation is. I mean, The Simpsons doesn't go,
Mhm.
small interpersonal stories, or they'll weave a big crazy story into
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
don't know. I have a lot of opinions, obviously.
Well, we need to catch up in person soon. The last time I saw you
Absolutely.
was at Broken
Halloween.
Compass. No, no, Broken
Oh,
Compass.
that's right.
Oh my God.
Come there.
I need to go back so bad. That place was so good. The
That
Mai
is my.
Tais.
I'm usually there twice a week, so you let me know.
Yeah, yeah. We should go. We should
I love that place.
also hang out with Scott again soon. One of these bottles in the kitchen, I have a bottle of the 19 Crimes Bride of Frankenstein for him. Because last
Yeah,
year, I think I got him hooked on the collection when he saw the bottles. I sent him like
yeah.
the pictures of it and the artwork.
Well, he and Tanya just had. I think today was their anniversary. Their 6 year
6 years.
anniversary.
Yeah. Happy anniversary, Scott and Tanya. If you guys are watching this and made it this far into the
Better be
video.
watching it.
I know, huh? They're two favorites. But
Exactly.
Kirk,
Favorite
un-
people.
until we go get Mai Tais, where can people catch up with you and keep up with all your upcoming
I'm
projects? Where
on
would be a good
all.
place?
I'm like you kids of today. I'm on all the socials. I mean, Insta. It's all just Kirk Thatcher, Kirk R Thatcher. Facebook. I have like three Facebook things. One is my friend one. One is my more professional one, and one's I don't know. One's linked to my Instagram, and then on X, Twitter X, again Kirk R Thatcher. Yeah. I've been working on an animated series for it'll be 3 years when I'm done. It'll be March of 2025 or early April. And then I'm going to try and do my own thing, whether it's sell my own show or do what you're doing, have a YouTube channel of something. I don't know. I said a few years ago, I'm tired of making other people rich, particularly huge corporations that treat you badly.
Yeah,
Um, and again, it's not personal. It's business. It's
right.
strictly business. But
Agreed.
what's interesting is in the industry right now, the way things are moving. There's it. 5 companies control entertainment in our
Ugh,
country,
it's crazy.
and while what's happening is like Princess Leia says, the tighter you squeeze, the more will slip through your fingers, and people are finding ways to get to an audience. I mean, YouTube's kind of amazing. It's the democratization of entertainment. If you can make it, you can put it out there. The hard part is, as you know, marketing. Like, how do you get eyeballs?
Yeah,
You know, so it, and that's why the giant corporations that own all the money and all the marketing get people to watch it, even if it's garbage. I mean, they crank out garbage as much as anybody, but because they promote the hell out of it, you know about it.
yeah.
Anyway, off my
Well,
soapbox. And
thank
yes, let's go get Tiki soon.
yes, we'll go get I don't know, Mai Tais and those I forgot what they were called, but those little smiley face potatoes.
Oh yeah,
So good, so good. But
they're
thank you,
like,
Uncle Kirk, for joining me for this
buddy.
very special episode of my favorite horror movie. And hopefully I see you before Halloween, but very soon.
Yes. Oh yeah, before Halloween. We got
All right.
a few weeks. All right, buddy.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody.
Bye.
Bye.